Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for attending the Net Plus session today. So we'll be talking mostly just about Net Plus, or actually just networking concepts. If any of you are currently working on IC&D or you have any Cisco questions, I mean, I can address that as well, or I can try to at least. So it's kind of there's a bit of a difference between Net Plus and Cisco, just from a few different standpoints. Net Plus is going to be a little bit more conceptual and just it's concept based, right? So it's just about understanding the concepts of networking. And Cisco is more obviously it's going to be more proprietary to Cisco, so it's going to be more specific to Cisco stuff, and but it's going to go a lot more into depth with the actual concepts as well. There's a lot of there's a learning curve when it comes to switch configurations and things like that, right? So you kind of take a lot of concepts to the next level, and there's configuring, there's troubleshooting, a ton of troubleshooting, and verification. So it just kind of, it's like intermediate networking when you move to that level. But okay, so just briefly, a brief overview of Net Plus for those who may not know, or if you haven't taken the exam yet. This is going to be about a step up from what you saw in A+, for those of you that took it. There is some networking that is covered in A+, but it's really just basic. It's just kind of the foundational type stuff. Okay, when you get into Net Plus, you kind of start to hit that next level. So some of the stuff that you see in A+ is going to be like ports and protocols, and basic IP configurations, IP addressing schemes, right? Like classless versus classful, like simple encryption stuff, like WPA versus WPA2 versus WEP, right? 802.11, your wireless technologies and speeds, that type of stuff is what you're going to see there. And then when you get to Net Plus, it kind of takes it to the next level. So the main thing you can expect to see on this exam is obviously networking, but you're going to see a decent amount of troubleshooting. Okay, where they put you in scenarios, and there's a problem here. Figure what's the problem, or what's the solution? What's the problem and the solution? That type of stuff. And then also you got some network security here, which is good because this kind of foreshadows a little bit of what you're going to be seeing if you move on to Security Plus from Net Plus. So it's good that they do that. Then obviously like your networking concepts. You kind of start off there with like ports and protocols, right? That's kind of something that I mentioned already. So you saw some of this stuff in A+, and now it's kind of, all right, explain the purposes and uses of this stuff. So, what are you using each of these for? What problem will one of these solve, or, what capabilities will one of these give you, right? That type of stuff. Okay, so one of the things that's going to be new is going to be the OSI model, okay? When it comes to the OSI models, it's not really that difficult of a concept. It's just about kind of understanding what it is and being able to visualize it and put, the devices and applications, protocols that we all use in a specific layer. Okay, so I'll give you a quick example of a diagram that I actually uploaded in our forum. I can't even remember how long ago it was, but it was a while ago. But it kind of speaks to that. So it's going to be under the networking section. And I have to find the OSI graphic. Here we go, OSI model graphic. Okay, so this is an old photo. I don't even know if it's still, if you can still see it on the website. But if you look at it here, you pretty much see the OSI model. You have the steps here, right? Each layer, and you have you have a visual of what is actually going on at each layer. Okay, so up here is just kind of showing you from the application layer, right, all the way down. Physical layer is going to be at the bottom, and then you can see here, right, you got your zeros and ones, right, it represents your bits. Okay, then your data link, obviously that's going to be your frames. That's where you're talking about like switches and stuff, right? Frame relay, right? These are some of the things that are going on at this layer, right? And then your network layer, right? It's going to be your packets, and then you got your segments up here. So bits, frames, packets, segments. All right. But the main thing is just you can see this kind of graphic here, and it gives you an idea of, you have your routers here, right? You got your transport layer, your session layer, and it just kind of gives you a visual of what is actually going on at each layer. So you can expect to get a decent amount of questions on the OSI model on the exam. I don't want to say you're going to get a ton, but expect to see at least a few. And really what it's going to be pertaining to is, maybe they'll say, which layer is a switch operating at, which layer of the OSI model. Okay, I don't think they're going to really try to confuse you. They just kind of want to make sure that you understand the general concept of it. So, they may ask you, which layer is a router operating at, okay, or maybe a protocol, right? TCP or UDP, which layer are they operating at? That type of stuff. Okay, so when you're trying to learn this, I would start with this graphic because it gives you a good visual. And then also it has a lot of the, all of the protocols, or it has not all of them, but a lot of the main ones that you may get asked about. It kind of maps out where they're going to fall. Okay, so this is a good graphic to use if you're trying to understand the OSI model. Let's see what else. All right, just make sure that you understand when it comes to 1.2, they want to know the devices, right? So if they're asking you, like I just said, right, a switch or a hub or or a router, right? Don't get confused by switches, okay? Switches always operate at layer 2, okay? Except for the instance where it's a multi-layer switch, okay, or a layer 3 switch. It could be either a multi-layer switch or a layer 3 switch, okay? It still operates at layer 2. It just has layer 3 capabilities, okay? It's like a hybrid. So, if they ask you about that, make sure that you say, it operates at multiple layers, right? Because it's still a layer 2 device. It just has extra capabilities, right? It's like, I don't know how many of you remember this. Is guess I'm kind of aging myself, but remember they used to have those DVD players that have like a dual thing that had a tape deck at the same time, right? So you could do both. You could watch either a DVD or you could watch a old school tape, right? It's kind of like that. It has both capabilities, right? So, okay. Any questions about the OSI model? Clinton says, damn. Did I age myself? Do you remember that or what? Okay. All right, so 1.3. Okay, this is where you kind of start to see new stuff. Well, actually, the OSI model is, but so I think we talked a little bit about this last week. I think I remember going over like routing protocols, link state versus distance vector. I think we talked a little bit about that. But a few other things I want to make sure everyone kind of gets the understanding of, or at least start to. Okay, broadcast domains versus. Whoa, I'm echoing. All right. Broadcast domains versus collision domains. Okay. Quite simply put, who has a good definition for broadcast domains versus collision domains? Nobody? Okay. So let me bring up a visual. Okay, so basically every connection inside of a segment of a network is going to be a collision domain. Okay, and at the same time, that entire segment represents a broadcast domain. So let me bring up, I think this one is probably the best. All right, so if you have a subnet, right? If you have a network that's split into subnets, right? Basically doing is you're creating more broadcast domains. So for example, I have a network over here. Okay, I have a subnet over here, right? This is my 1.0 network. Hopefully you guys can see that. I know it's kind of small, but I'll make it bigger. Yeah, we'll make it a little bit bigger. A little bit smaller. Okay. So over here, by the way, this is Packet Tracer, it's Cisco Packet Tracer. This is another great tool for networking because you just have access to tons of equipment and it's all 100% configurable. So if you're going to be taking Net Plus, you should have some type of simulated network to play around in, just to practice the concepts and make sure that you understand them as well as you would like to. But anyway, so I have a network over here. It's 1.0 and it's a /24. Okay, so this is your basic Class C network here, right? This is what the subnet mask looks like. And then over here, I have a 2.0 network, right? Same subnet mask, but it's just a different segment, okay? So this right here is going to be a broadcast domain, right? All the way up until the router. All the way up until I get to the router, okay? So right here, this is where any broadcast that I sent out is going to get killed because routers kill broadcast, right? Everyone understands that? Hopefully everyone does. Right? So if I send out a broadcast from this switch to go out to every device, it's going to go out to every device and it's going to go out to this router, right? All these devices are going to respond, but this router is going to kill it. All right. So anyway, so this represents a broadcast domain. Okay. So each connection to this switch represents a collision domain. Okay. So this is a collision domain, right? Sends and receives. Collision domain. Collision domain. Collision domain. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Does this count? Somebody tell me.
Yes.
Yes or no, just guess.
Yes.
Absolutely, it counts. Now the router is going to kill it, right? As soon as it gets here, the router is going to kill it, but it's still connected to the switch and it still sends and receives. So this does count as a collision domain, okay? But the broadcast is going to die when it gets to the router. It's not going to forward through, okay? So this is a broadcast domain, right? One broadcast domain and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 collision domains right here, okay? Same thing over here. All right, this is a broadcast domain. This is a different broadcast domain, right? So in essence, you can say that creating a subnet, right? Subnetting your network is creating more broadcast domains, right? The more you segment, the more subnets you have, the more broadcast domains you have, right? And I actually have 3 here because this This is the broadcast domain, right? This is another network here. 1.0, 2.0, and this point-to-point connection, this is a network, right? 3.0. So there's actually 3 broadcast domains here. Okay, then the easiest way is just if you have a switch, if you have a centralized device, count the connections to it. That's the easiest way to figure out collision domains versus broadcast domains. Okay, why do I bring that up? Because it's relevant. You could easily get a question about broadcast domains and collision domains, right, on the exam. If you see it on the objectives, it's fair play. Okay, so just make sure you understand like those little concepts, because like you said, like it says right here, just explain the concept, right? It's not asking you to create broadcast domains. It's not asking you to delete any of them or any of that. It's just saying explain the concept. So you just want to understand like what's the application of a broadcast domain? Why would I want to create more broadcast domains, right? Things like that. Let's see what else. VLANs. It's kind of the same concept that you can. So let me come back here real quick to the. All right. So in essence, so this network, real quick, is this network just by looking at it? Is this separated or is this created physically or logically?
Logic.
The way you understand. Say that again.
Logic.
Then says logic. Okay. Anyone else? Does everyone agree? Oh, maybe I need to scroll down. Okay. And this thing kind of gets me. Okay, logic. Repeat the question, please. Okay, yeah, the question was, this network, is it separated physically or logically? Is it segmented physically or logically? I got a couple logics. I got no physicals. Okay, so just by looking at it, this is actually segmented physically. The reason for that is because this is one entire VLAN right here. Okay, all of these devices, they're in the same VLAN. Okay, and they're all connected to the same physical switch. So if I hover over this switch, it's supposed to show some information. Doesn't want to show it. It's supposed to show the VLANs. Oh well. Okay, so anyway, yeah, these are all in the same subnet, right? So there's no devices over here that are actually in this network. That's why this is separated physically, right? All these devices, they're all in this network. Let me show you an example of one that is segmented logically. Same over here, right? All these devices, they're all in the same network, right? Right, they're all connected to the same switch and they're on the same network, right? So this means that this is segmented physically. Let me show you an example of one that is segmented logically. VLANs. Hopefully I can get the thing to pop up. Okay. So here we just have 3 switches, okay? We only have 3 switches. Well, we have 3 switches and then we have 3 devices connected to 2 of the switches, right? When I hover over the switch, if you guys can see that, I don't know if you can see that, but if you go look at the top in the 3rd column, you see VLANs, right? I have 3 different VLANs. So the device that is connected to the port 0/1 is in VLAN 10. The device that's connected to 0.2 is in VLAN 20, and the one that's connected to 0/3 is in VLAN 30. Okay, so here's my question. With the way this network is set up right now, would this device here be able to communicate with this device? The way that this network is set up here. Chris says no, or he's guessing no. Then he says yes. Derek says yes. Chris says yes and no. Okay. Who else? We have a couple yeses. Yes, same network, no router needed. Who else? Any others? But since on different VLANs, Chris says, does it work that way? It's a great question. Okay, here's the answer. The answer is no. There's no router here. So, do I still have the other one open? I'll go back to that one in just a second. Okay, so these are in different VLANs, okay? And if you're in different VLANs, these devices cannot communicate with each other without a layer 3 device. It does not work that way. Okay, so if I try to send a ping, now the other thing that I want to show you before I do that is I'm going to come over here to this one, and you can see that it's set up the same way. Okay, so let me hover over to again, and you can see that if you look at the top, you can see I have 0/1 in VLAN 10, 0/2 is in VLAN 20, and 0/3 is in VLAN 30. Okay, so I have this set up, and I have enabled trunking on these ports here, or on these connections here. Okay, I'll explain what trunking is in just a second. But okay, so no, this is great. You know, it's good to, you know, if it's something that you don't understand, it's good that we're talking about it, right? So very important. If you do not have a layer 3 device, a switch does not connect VLANs. Well, actually, it does. If you set up trunking, it does, right? But if you don't have a layer 3 device, you won't be able to talk to any other devices. So look, let's do it this way. All right, I'm going to send a ping. Right. I'm going to demonstrate it for you, right? So this is this device. I'm just going to do a quick ping. So I'm going to ping from here to here, and you're going to see it failed, right? Even though they're connected to the same device, right? They're connected to the same device, but they're in different VLANs. So I can't connect to this one, and I can't connect to this one either, right? You see it failed twice. All right. But what you will see is that since these are both in the same VLAN, right? If I ping this one, it's successful, right? Why? Because they're both in VLAN 10. Is it a security reason? No, it's a function. Yes, a handicap of, there you go. It's just a handicap of a switch, right? It can't jump subnets. When you put a device in another VLAN, the only way that you're going to be able to reach is with a layer 3 device. That's the only way. So this is an example of a network that's designed logically. Okay, so why would you want to do this? Well, maybe these two PCs are marketing PCs, right? These two here are sales PCs, right? These two are IT PCs, right? And that's what's more common today, right? You don't have everyone working on the same floor. Sometimes you have people in different departments working right next to each other. But this is an example of segmenting, or setting up your network logically. Okay. Same thing here, right? If I quick ping this device over here, these are both in VLAN 20, so it works, right? If I try to ping that one, it doesn't work, right? And so in that instance, what we would need to do is we would need to put a layer 3 device in here. So either a router, right? We could use it as a router on a stick, or we could use a layer 3 device, or we could use a layer 3 switch, and we can configure SVIs, which is switch virtual interfaces, right? That's something that you learn how to do in Cisco, how to do a router on a stick or switch virtual interfaces. But for Net Plus purposes, just know that if you want to connect to a device that is in another VLAN, at the very least, you need some type of layer 3 device, okay? Or it will not work. Got it? Any questions there? So this is logic. And where's the other one? I know I didn't close it. So this is physical, right? So even though we have these routers here, if I were to pull these routers out, these devices would still be able to connect with each other, right? They just want to be able to connect with this subnet over here. So these routers right here, actually you only need one, but it's a must to have at least one so that I can, right now I can ping from this device over here and it should work. Oh, it failed. Maybe I didn't wait long enough to come up. Or, oh no, we have to troubleshoot, see what's going on here. That should have worked. Should have. Oh, now it worked. So yeah, I think I just went too fast. Or, oh, you know what? I think I added this device, but we're doing another session. So I don't know. Let's try it again. Let's try. Let's see if it can connect to the server up here. Yeah, it worked. So everything's good. Right now, if I were to pull these routers out of the equation, would I be able to get over here? No, right? Because this is a whole nother subnet, right? So you need these routers, and you need to configure a route from this network over to this network. You either need to do it statically, or you need to set up some type of routing protocol. Let's see what I did here. I don't remember. So you can see here, just looking at like the changes I made to this switch or to this router. So I have, so this, obviously this router here is the DHCP server. And I know that because here are the pools right here. Okay, so I have two pools. Right? So I have the .10 pool, then I have the .20 pool here as well. Right? Let's see. DHCP address conflict. Oh, I have a conflict somewhere. Where's the routing protocol? And then go down for it though. Okay. So you can see I'm using OSPF. So I configured OSPF. I didn't do it statically. And another way you can find that out is if you just go show IP route. Yeah, show IP route. This also tells you all the connections, so you can see all of the routes to other networks. So from the 1.0 network, right? How do I get to the 2.0 network? How do I get to the 3.0 network? Right? It has all this information. It tells you how it was configured, right? So C stands for directly connected, right? Those are your interfaces that are directly connected. And then L would be local, right? And then O would be OSPF. So that tells you right there how these routes were discovered, right? These routes were discovered via either local, directly connected, or through OSPF. So Anyway, I may have went a little too far, but just wanted to kind of show you the capabilities of this tool. It's pretty cool. All right. Okay. Any questions? Routers connect networks together. Yeah. So here's the easiest way to think of it. Okay, just kind of dumb it down. Think of it as like a cab or an Uber. A switch being a cab or an Uber, right? Cab or Uber is going to get you around locally, right? It's going to get you to the grocery store, or it's going to get you to the park or to the movies, right? To school, wherever you're going, it's going to get you there. And the router is like the airport, right? The airport is going to get you out of town, right? It's going to get you out of if you need to go out of the nation or wherever you need to go out of the city. So think of a router as the airport, right? Connects networks. It connects airports, connect other airports, right? You leave one airport and you land in another airport and you're in another city, right? Whereas with a switch, switch is just it's gonna send you around locally, right? It's gonna direct traffic locally, right? So you got your library here and you got your park here, and you got home, grocery store, right? Whatever, you got all this stuff that's local, where the switch it's gonna be like your cab or your Uber. But when you need to get over here, when you need to get to another town or another city, you have to go to the airport, right? The router is gonna be your airport. So think of it like that. I think that kind of helps people a bit. Sorry, Chris, I didn't see your I didn't see your comments there, because sometimes this chat box moves on its own and sometimes it stays still. So I can't tell when people are typing sometimes. Okay. All right. Then everyone understands logical versus physical now too, right? Any other questions there? Okay. And that will be the one instance where, a switch, if you try to turn this, if you start connecting this or designing this logically, that's where, all right, let's say that, maybe this server, for whatever reason, we want to put this in another VLAN, right? So let's say maybe I put this server up here in a different VLAN. Okay, in that instance, even with this router here, you still have to you're gonna have to go to the router first to get to the switch. You'll still be able to get there, but you have to go through the router first, right? Whereas if I want to send, if I want to ping this device over here from here, the switch is enough. It'll just, okay, I know where that is, and then it'll just send it here, right? But anytime you need to get to another VLAN or another area, like let's call this like a peninsula, right? I'm from San Diego, right? And Coronado is a peninsula, so you got to go across a bridge to get to it, right? So you could think of it like that. If you put something in another VLAN, it just makes it a little bit more difficult to get to. It just gets it a couple of extra hops, right? It gets up here, realizes, okay, it's not in the subnet that I'm in, so I need to send it here. And it's basically going to translate it here, then send it back so it can send it up here. Okay. How much time we got? Got another 20 minutes. What else do we have? Any specific questions? I've been kind of just going down the objective list, trying to hit like pertinent stuff. But let's see, switching those spanning tree, power over Ethernet, DMZ, MAC address table, ARC table. Okay, we're just looking at it. Public versus private, loopback default gateway, logical versus physical. Just went over that. Apologies. Subnetting. Again, dun, dun, dun. No, there's plenty of subnetting stuff out there. By the way, subnetting, you're not going to see a lot of it. Okay, not on Net Plus. Cisco, you're going to see more than you're going to see on Net Plus, but it's not a lot of it. Just make sure you get the basics, and you'll be fine on Net Plus. What else? Okay, I do want to hear troubleshooting. No, subnetting. You may see subnetting on Net Plus. Obviously, if it's in the objectives, it's something that's fair game, right? So I'm not saying that you're not going to see subnetting. You're just not going to see a lot of it. It only falls in one sub-objective here in Knowledge Domain 1. And, Knowledge Domain 1 is, it's about 23% of the exam. So, that's about 1 in every 3-4 questions, right? But my point is, like, there's so much other stuff that's being covered in one that when it comes to subnetting, you're not going to see a lot of it. You can probably see maybe 2 or 3 questions at the most. My last Net Plus exam, I didn't see any subnetting questions. My first one, when I took the 005, I think it was, I saw quite a few. So, it depends on your version of the exam, but, moving forward, you just see less of it here.
Hey, Tristan.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the main thing with the subnetting is that you basically just need to understand how to subnet, and you're correct when it says there's not a lot of them, but if you're like on the cusp of passing the exam, right, that could be the difference. So if you just know how to subnet and to break down those different things, those 2 or 3 questions will probably get you over the hump, especially if it's easy to you.
Right.
Because they're not a lot, but they're enough to where if you see it, you don't want it to be one of those things going, oh my God, I don't get it, that type of stuff.
Right. So here's what you need to know how to do when it comes to subnetting. Okay, here's the type of questions I can ask you. What's the first available host in this subnet? Or what's the last available address in the subnet, right? They can give you a subnet and a subnet mask, and you have to figure out, okay, what's the first address, what's the last address, right? What's the first available address, right? Meaning the first usable. Actually, I'm sorry, usable. That's the word that they'll use. Okay. So you need to know how to figure out the first and the last address in any subnet. And given a subnet, right? This department needs 25 devices in it. What subnet mask are you going to use? Okay, or what slash, right? Which which slash are you going to use? When it comes to subnetting, that's about it. They could also give you an address like, for example, 192.168.1.5, and they'll give you a slash. So okay, we'll say it's a /24, right? And then they may ask you, okay, what is the actual subnet that this address is usable on? Okay, so other than that, there's nothing else I can really see them asking you for this exam. When you get into Cisco, it's a little different. They expect a lot more from you, when it comes from a subnetting perspective. But other than that, there's not much on there. So and what he's saying is absolutely right as well. You could be right there on the cusp. And the subnetting question could be the one that puts you over or puts you under, right? So what he's really saying there is, make sure you cover all your bases. It's not just about subnetting, it's about everything. Because there's other
I'll add to that where sorry about that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because what you're saying is like for those who haven't taken the exam, I know some people in it that actually have, and maybe they can confirm this. But like you're saying, they'll ask you, they'll give you a like he said, a IP address and then a bang 26 or something like that, and then they'll ask you uh, how many usable addresses, or excuse me, for a certain department. Like they're setting up a subnet for like sales or whoever, and it's like they'll give you the bang 26 or 25 or whatever, and then based on that, what are the usable addresses that you can set up for some sales department, what have you. And you got to know that you can't use the first or the last, so you got to do the -2, and then they'll give you, you know, those type of things. So if you can discern that and get through that quickly, then you should be good to go. You know, you don't have to do any long, for the most part, too much any type of long division. But if you don't get the concepts of being, you know, like when normally Tristan breaks down how to start your subnetting, like you said, get the broadcast ID, you know, the network ID, the broadcast, you know, knowing what those are. If you can get those down packed, then some of those questions that you'll see, because you might see 2 or 3, and they won't throw you as much for the new folks.
Pretty much. Okay. Struggle with subnetting in the past. Yeah, you know what? It's really it's a repetition thing. That's really it. I think everyone struggled with it at first. I did too. Um, so you know, subnetting is one of those things. I mean, I could look at a video that was done 4 or 5 years ago, and it'll still explain it in a way that works. So it's not something that changes or is overly difficult, but there are a lot of different ways to do it. So it's really about finding the way that kind of works for you, or the way that you understand it best. And then once you get it, once you get the basics of it, just practice. Just over and over. It's like shooting free throws, right? The more you score, I can't say that. Shaq never figured it out, huh? But it's a repetition thing. The more you do it, the more comfortable you are with it, and then you just start to find patterns that just make it easier for you. And then even me, like before I take any exam that may have subnetting on it, I just put the chart at the top. So I'm not even trying to figure the stuff out. I'm just, if I see a subnetting question, I'm just going to refer to my chart, right? Let me pull it up real quick. I think it's just, no, it's the other one. No, it is this one, right? I'll just put this chart at the top. This little chart. It has your little slashes here. It tells you, how many addresses you're going to have with each slash, and how many hosts you're going to have with each slash, right? Your host is basically your available addresses minus your excluded, minus your 2 excluded, right? You can't use the first, you can't use the last one. So just put this chart at the top, and if they say, oh, there's a department, the marketing department needs 100 devices, which slash are you going to use? Well, I'm just going to count here, right? Which one is going to give me 100? Slash 25, okay? And then move on, right? This way, you're not wasting a lot of time, like, trying to figure it out. Just use a chart for now. But like I said, sooner or later, like, the more you look at this stuff, you start to find, like, little baseline stuff, little areas where you can start, and it just becomes a lot easier. So, when you're taking these exams, even Cisco, like, they don't have you like way down here. They don't want to know which slash you're going to use if you need, 50,000 devices, right? They're going to keep it pretty simple. They want to make sure that you understand the general concept. So, you'll be seeing like slash 23 maybe. Slash 23 and up, right? You're not going to see anything like way over here. So, is there somewhere where you can get that chart? Yeah, that chart is actually, go to the forum under model. I'll put it in here somewhere. Notes from subnetting session. Here it is. So just go to the network section and scroll down till you see notes from subnetting section, and you'll see that chart there. All right. Real quick, because I may have just confused somebody with that chart, actually. So each octet has 8. That's 8 bits, right? For some reason, I don't know if you guys counted or not, but there's only 7 here, right? And the reason for that is because is this a valid subnet mask? Somebody tell me. Yay, nay? No guesses? They could ask you on the exam, so.
Say the question again, Tristan?
Is this a valid subnet mask? Let me put it to you like this. Because that's what this looks like, right? So that's 32. Okay, why not? I got a bunch of no's. You don't have any IP addresses. I get what you're saying, but only 2 level addresses for host. It's the broadcast address. There you go. Right? This subnet mask leaves no room for host. There has to be 2 parts of I guess it's better to explain it on the other sheet, actually. Let me bring that up real quick. How much time is left? Well, we got 5 minutes. I'm not over. Okay. Let me bring it up on the other one. Okay. So, right, each address has to have 2 portions, right? That's why you have this yellow portion, right? This is your subnet ID portion. And then this is your variable portion, right? This is your host portion, right? So the most that you can have is actually /31, right? Because this is the only way that you're going to have 2 portions, right? If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Try to keep this consistent, right? So if I do this, right, I still have 2 portions, but I can't do this, right? Because there's no portion for host, right? It's basically like Matthew said. It's a broadcast address, right? You can't use this. So that's why when you look at that chart, I don't have /32 up here because it's an invalid address, right? It's an invalid broadcast address. It has to be at least 31. 31 is going to give you 2 addresses. It's going to give you 2 addresses you can't use. So really, in a point-to-point, you're going to be using a /30, right? And if you go back to that, we go back to this right here, right? This network that I have separated physically, you can see here, right? The slash I'm using the /30, right? Because I need 2 addresses. So I have one here and I have one here. Can't use the /31 because I have 2 addresses that are not usable, right? So that's why for this little section here, right, with the point-to-point, you're really going to be using a /30. But this is how I know. Okay, because I'll just double it. Start at /31, and then from there, I got 2 addresses, and then I'll just. Did I lose anyone? Does everyone get it? So when would you use the /31? Did I go anyone? Whoa. So can you do /24? Okay, which one are you talking about, Chris, when you're asking about the /24? Oh, okay. Answered in the chart. Yeah. Yeah, this is your /24 down here. And you just keep going. The amount of devices that you need to accommodate determines what slash you're going to use. It's really simple. You want to use a /31. Actually, you can, but I'm not sure when. I remember one time I was in one of Professor Messer's group sessions, one of his network sessions, and he mentioned that. He mentioned that there is a time when you would use a /31 or where you could use it. I just don't remember when it was. So in my mind, you can't use it because the two addresses that are available are excluded. So I don't know how you would be able to use it, but yeah, maybe something like that. Maybe like some type of broadcast or something. I don't know, but the lowest you can go is yeah, I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know if you can use this /1. I'm not sure. I'm not totally sure. I'm not sure how low you can go, but you'll still have two portions. It's just, I mean, if you're only masking one bit, wow. I don't know why you would need that many, but that's crazy. For math reasons, right? Pretty much, I would assume. Okay, so any other questions here while I'm still here? Okay. Do one example of like a size 27. Okay. So let me go back to the other chart. So so you're asking like what would a size 27 look like? Okay. So let's turn this into a size 27. Okay. So first thing, screen again. There we go. Okay, so first thing you need to understand about what this 27 represents is the number of bits that are being masked, the number of consecutive bits, more specifically, that are being masked. So basically, you just count to 27, right? Everything up to 27 is a 1, and then everything else is 0. So these are all 8. You have 8, 16, 24, right? Let me turn this yellow again. 24, 25, 26, 27, right? So that would mean these are 4s, right? Okay, so this is what the subnet mask is going to look like. Okay. Now the question is, what is this going to look like? This down here. All right. So the last bit should be, this is 128 plus 64 plus 32. That should be 224, right? If I'm not mistaken. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Chris got it. Yeah, Chris has it. 224 for, yeah. But you just want to see, it broken down. Broken down how? Okay, so to get to 224. Oh, you're just adding up the bits, right? So yeah, it's 128 plus 64 plus 32, right? So if you start from right to left, right? You have 1, then you have 2, then you have 4, then you have 8. You just double it all the way to the last bit. 16, 32, 64, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not enough. Someone didn't catch me. There we go. Right? So you're just doubling all the way. There's a placeholder over each one of these bits. All right, so it's 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. If it's a 1, you count it. If it's 0, you don't. You only calculate the 1s. Yeah, the 0s you leave alone. You calculate the 1s. That's why these are all 255s. If you add up all of these, it's 255. You add up all of these, it's 255. Add up all of these, same thing, 255. This one is it's going to be a little short because you don't add them all up. You only add up the first three. That's why it's 224. Got it? Okay. So let me make sure I get everyone's names before you take off, or at least like leave your name down. I just got someone to take off. So. Okay. Randall. Just go ahead and stop recording now. Anyways, yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and take the names down. This session will be posted probably before the end of the day. I'll go ahead and post it. I got a little editing to do, but yeah, you'll be able to see either tomorrow or by next week sometime. All right. Great session. Next session will be Tuesday. We'll be back on A+. All right. Thanks everyone for attending. Travis. Okay. All right. So I have. Let me know if I missed you. I have Brian, Chris, and Chris. I have Clinton, Dennis, Derek, Jeff, Johnny. Kareem, Renee, Randall, Matthew, Mike, Nicholas, Robert, Shane, and Travis. Did I miss anyone? Yeah, NetPlus is every Friday. So, and then, you know, if there's a session you can't attend, you can always just go to the tutor replay section up here, and you can view all the replays. So if there's like a specific topic, we were talking about subnetting last week, so, or actually the week before. So actually last week and the week before. So, you know, if you want to go over it again or whatever, or I went over it in a lot more detail in this session here, this the CIDR session right here. I went over it in a lot more detail. I actually showed how to do it, how to find the first address, how to find the last address, the first usable, the last usable, and also how to find the, you know, how to find out, you know, which slash you're going to use for a size, for a specific size. So this session right here will give you a good idea of how to do it. Yeah, I got you, Shane. Was there a video posted for last week? Actually, I think I didn't post it because I remember I think I did this one like 2 weeks ago. So let me double check. I thought I posted it. Maybe I didn't. I'll go double check and I'll put it in here. All right. If there's nothing else, guys, have a great weekend. And I will see you next week.
All right. Have a great weekend, folks.
You too.